So we are back with episode 2 of Daredevil Born Again season 2, and this episode is called Shoot the Moon. I really like the way this episode starts. Very atmospheric. We see Daredevil sitting on the rooftops overlooking the city, holding the knife that Bullseye threw into the room with that message etched into it so he could read it. Just a really cool, tense opening moment. Then we cut to Bullseye in a church asking for forgiveness. Again, very atmospheric, very tense. It immediately feels like something big is coming. We also see Fisk preparing for what looks like some kind of fight, possibly a boxing match, and that's interesting. They haven't really explained that yet, but it definitely raises questions. And the big thing that stood out to me here is holy hell, how strong is Fisk? When we saw him back in the Hawkeye series, they really ramped up his strength, and we're seeing hints of that again here. I mean, let's not forget at the end of last season, he literally crushed a man's skull with his bare hands. This guy is operating on another level. So when he inevitably goes toe-to-toe with Matt again, that's going to be extremely dangerous for our hero. We also see a really clever move by Fisk. He publicly acknowledges Matt Murdock as a hero, not as Daredevil, but as a civilian who saved his life. And that's a very smart play, because instead of exposing Matt as Daredevil, which could actually turn public sympathy towards him, Fisk does the opposite. He shines a spotlight on Matt as a public figure. That makes it much harder for Matt to operate in the shadows. It's a subtle but very strategic move. I really like how the show is leaning into Kingpin as this really intelligent strategist. One of the strongest moments in this episode is when the task force is sent to take out the cop who helped Daredevil. We see the older cops rally around him, protecting him from the task force. And that scene does a great job of showing that not everyone in the police force agrees with what Fisk is doing. There's still resistance and there's still morality. And that tension inside the system is really interesting. We also see Bullseye appear again, and this time we finally get a proper look at him in his full comic-inspired costume. And honestly, he looks pretty badass, even with the funny Bullseye symbol on his forehead. He is terrifying because he can kill you with anything, literally anything, and is clearly taking matters into his own hands. Not necessarily to help Daredevil, but to serve his own twisted sense of justice perhaps, or maybe make amends for some of the sins of what he's done. Now I will say this is where the episode slows down a bit for me. We spend more time with the side characters, including the deputy mayor and some of the BB storyline, and I'm still not fully invested in those threads. They're not bad, but whenever we move away from Matt and Karen, I find myself losing interest a little bit. That's been one of my bigger issues with the season so far. We also see Angela Del Toro return, and she gets into a confrontation at a convenience store. This clearly feels like setup for her becoming the new White Tiger, which I'm definitely hoping happens. After that altercation, her mother gets taken away by the task force, and that's obviously going to put Angela deeper into the main story with Matt and Karen. It's also a great way to show how dangerous Fisk's task force has become. People are literally disappearing because of them. The episode wraps up with a fantastic action sequence in Josie's bar, where the anti-vigilante task force comes crashing in. Daredevil jumps straight into the fight and absolutely unloads on them. This is where the show and this episode really comes alive. The choreography, the movement, the brutality, it's some of the best action we've seen in the series so far. And we also get a great moment where Karen proves she's far from helpless. She takes down one of the task force members and takes him hostage. So overall, episode 2 has some strong moments, especially the action and the tension, but there is also a lot of setup. A lot of time spent with side characters. And while that groundwork will probably pay off later, the highlights of the episode are definitely the scenes with Matt and Karen. Now, moving on to episode 3, titled The Scales and the Sword. This episode picks up immediately with Matt and Karen interrogating the task force member that Karen captured. And I love how far Karen has come. She's fully committed now, even if that means kidnapping someone to take down Fisk. We also get a moment where Matt basically tells their captive,
"If you're lying to me, you fuck, I'll find you. And I'll be unhappy."
And honestly, hearing Matt talk like that shows we're in a completely different era of this show. Hearing Matt drop an F-bomb while interrogating a hostage is not something that I expected. It's darker and it's more intense, and I love it. We also spend some more time with Matt's ex, who's clearly dealing with trauma from her encounter with Muse. And this is actually one of the side stories I'm more interested in, because the big question is she going to snap? And if she does, what does that look like? There's real potential here. We also spend some time in the Punisher's old hideout, which Matt and Karen have now taken over. And there's a great conversation between them about the ethics of what they're doing. Karen is leaning more towards the Punisher's philosophy, finality, decisive action. Matt is still firmly against this. That dynamic is fantastic. And with the Punisher special coming up, it's great to see the connection still alive in the world. It makes the universe feel cohesive again, something the multiverse saga has sometimes struggled with. The coolest moments in this episode is when Daredevil uses his lawyer friend Kirsten's memory of sounds to track down where the prisoners are being held.
I can work with that.
That's such a clever use of his abilities. We know he has heightened senses, but seeing him reconstruct the location purely from someone's auditory memory is next level stuff. It really leans into the detective side of the character. And honestly, it makes me think the show might be doing a better version of Batman than we've ever seen in any of his films. Maybe I'm tripping, but those are the vibes I was getting. Daredevil really is that brutal vigilante at the moment. All of this builds towards one of the best action sequences we've seen in any Daredevil season. Matt rescues the prisoners, frees the swordsman, and goes absolutely brutal on the task force. And I mean brutal.
Use lethal force, go hard.
He doesn't kill, but he will absolutely put you in a wheelchair. The way he uses his billy clubs in the scene is pure cinema. We've come a long way from the hallway fight in season 1. I honestly think we've surpassed it at this point. The episode ends with Fisk ordering the destruction of the Northern Star wreck, killing everyone still on board. And it's clearly meant to frame vigilantes, especially Daredevil, for the tragedy. That's a massive escalation, and it raises the stakes for the rest of the season. It also shows Fisk's level of ruthlessness. He is pretty much willing to do anything to be the one that ends up on top. So how are Matt and Karen meant to go up against someone like that? Who knows, maybe they'll have to bring in someone else to help them. So overall, episode 2 was slower, there was a lot more setup, there was a lot more groundwork, but episode really delivered that payoff. More action, more tension, and more momentum, and I think this is why they released the 2 episodes back to back. Smart play, Marvel. We're really starting to see all these storylines start to collide. From Fisk and Vanessa's scheming, to Bullseye lurking in the shadows, to the Resistance building behind the scenes. And full credit to the stunt team and fight choreographers this season, because the action has been absolutely incredible. We've never seen Daredevil this brutal, and I'm loving every second of it. So let me know, what did you think of episode 2 and 3 of Daredevil Born Again season 2? Did episode 3 deliver for you, or are you still waiting for the season to really hit its stride? Let me know down in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.